大家好，接着上期，我们今天会把剩下的这个事件类的3个新题给大家用一个故事给它串起来，同时我们会对 Part 3的部分进行全面主题的讲解。那么除此之外，我们今天还带来了我这个对于一个前雅思考官的采访，穿插在我们今天的视频当中。其中考官就讲到了，比如说 Part 2什么时候会有 follow up questions， 它代表了什么？那 Part 3、Part 2他们各个的难点在哪里？我们考生最爱常错的地方是什么？同时还有 Part 3最好的框架是什么样子的？那相信看完今天的视频，你的雅思口语一定会再上一个 level。 好，那我们现在先来看我们事件类的新题，印象深刻的英语课。 Describe an impressive English lesson that you had and enjoyed. You should say what it was about. 它是什么？ When you had it, what the teacher did, and why you enjoyed the lesson. So basically 就是介绍一个英语课。然后那我们因为事件类里边还有就是下一个题目叫做信息搜索，还有一个呢叫做失约，就是 misappointment。这几个呢我们都可以用这一个故事给你串起来。所以呢我们的思路是这样的。首先呢，因为这个题目必须要讲英语课嘛，那咱们就是剩下的也都讲英语课。我说关于 English speaking， 2个月前左右，这就是时间嘛。然后在 B 站，对吧，在家看到了一个老师介绍提升口语的技巧，还提供了一个免费的与母语者练习的一个邀请码。然后呢，非常喜欢这课程，因为讲得很细节有趣，有很多例子，感觉自己学到了很多。所以大概就是这么个故事，非常的简单。那一会儿呢，我们讲下面这题的时候，我再告诉你怎么把这个题目串到搜索信息，串到这个失约。 OK。 Well, I would like to talk about an English lesson that I had online that was very enjoyable. About 2 months ago, I was browsing the internet and the website popped up a recommended video to me, which was about how to effectively practice English speaking at home. As I was preparing for the IELTS test, which has an English speaking test that is very important, I clicked the video to see if there was any useful information. The teacher first introduced his background very briefly. Apparently, he lived in Canada and has been teaching English for almost a decade. He then shared his personal learning experience of practicing English without spending a ton of money. He said that one of the major reasons why Chinese students are struggling with speaking English is that they give too much focus on reading and memorizing vocabulary. In fact, students should focus on their listening to improve their speaking. I thought that makes a lot of sense, because if I listen to native speakers enough, I could imitate the way they speak and improve my speaking skills. The teacher then shared his own free resources for practicing speaking at home, such as watching soap operas like Friends, watching talk shows, self-talk, and an app that allows people to have conversations one-on-one with a native speaker. He even shared a referral code that people could use to get a free 15-minute practice for the app. I loved how he gave lots of good examples and explained the tips in an easy to understand and humorous manner. The quality of the lesson was above my expectation, and I think I learned a lot from this lesson. OK， 所以这整体来说呢，故事稍微的长一丢丢啊，稍微的长一丢丢，但是呢，也是属于在我们这个2分钟左右啊，这个没有什么问题。你会发现我们在中途讲的比较细节，其实呢，这个你并不需要介绍这个老师，对吧？所以如果说你自己练的时候发现有点长，你就把这个这句话从这儿到这儿删掉。OK， 基本就差不多了，好吧？所以这个我们讲的比较细节，但实际上呢，这种东西呢，你是可以删掉的，因为这里边细节已经很多了， 所以只要你能涵盖到一些，就已经能把这个英语课描述的不错了。OK， 整体的话呢，思路刚才我们已经写在那儿了。如果你看着你的语料，对吧？我也标记出来了那个思路，所以你可以用那个作为一个参考啊。基本上就是，这整个故事的脉络就是这样。
So in my experience, I would only ask follow-up questions to my students if their answer may have been a touch too short, or if I wanted to give them more opportunity to get points for part 2. So if I knew that this person maybe had a bit of a difficulty getting the idea in their head, and they didn't speak for long enough, or they did speak for long enough, but I want to give them more opportunity to get that grammar score higher, I would ask them follow-up questions, but I didn't do it often. It's not a usual thing. Mostly when you finish part 2, they'll move on to part 3. It does depend on what we call the discretion of the examiner. So discretion, means they can decide, should I do this? Should I not do this? My experience when I was doing it, it was a good thing because I'm giving the student more opportunity to get points to the part 2.
OK，
Let's say if you messed up your tenses for 2 sentences, but the answer was amazing.
right.
I ask you a follow-up question and be like, how did you feel when that happened? Now, if the student says, well, I felt a little sad about it, but, I adapted and I got out of it. And I feel much better these days. Now I know, okay, he spoke in past tense. He spoke about present tense. I can up his grammar score a little bit. It does depend. Examiners aren't trying to catch you out. They're not trying to be like, haha, you made that mistake.
OK， right.
So maybe they're giving you what we call the benefits of the doubt. They're giving you more opportunity to show your English in that answer to give you a higher score.
信息搜索 ，Describe a time when you needed to search for information。这题就很简单嘛，说你需要去搜这个信息，然后他问你搜什么信息，什么时候搜的，你在哪搜的 ，and explain why you need it。对，就是你，然后你为什么要搜，对吧？所以其实他的这些问题呢，也都非常的 general， 对吧？就也还好。所以这样的话呢，我们就可以用刚才的那个思路，也就是印象深刻的英语课，对吧？里面我就说，因为我在准备雅思，然后呢自己的口语呢又比较差，所以不知道怎么着才能在自己家里练口语，所以呢我就再去网上搜，对吧？我就去网上搜，然后是不是就跟刚才那个一模一样啊？基本上就顺着啊，我搜到了一个什么内容，然后那个老师讲了应该要怎样学。然后最后就这个我觉得这个老师讲的很好啊，这个那个的就搞定了啊。所以这个呢内容相当的匹配，可以呢自己来练习一下。来看一下 Part 3 How can people search for information now？ 人们现在都怎么搜东西？也蛮简单的吧？我就直接说 Most people do research through search engine websites such as Google。我就说他通过这种搜索引擎网站，然后比如说 Google。来搜东西 Actually, the company name Google, it's now used as a verb for searching information online， 对吧？因为现在都说，你 Google 一下 ，OK， can you Google that？ 就是现在 Google 它自己就变成了一个动词 ，OK。So people can access to millions of search results in less than a second, which is a game changer compared with searching information from physical books in the library。它跟这个之前在 library 里边用纸质书来查资料比起来，它是一个 game changer。game changer 就是说它改变了游戏的规则，它是一个非常好的进步的东西。OK， 然后因为现在的话呢，它可以这个少于1秒的时间就可以搜出上百万的结果。OK， 所以基本上这个回答就结束了哈。第二个问题 ，What information can people get from television？你从电视上能找到什么信息？然后这个题我觉得你不用答太复杂，然后这个 Part 1里边不是有 TV programs 吗？所以类似的东西我们搬过来。Well, they can all get all kinds of information by watching the designated TV channels. For example, they can learn about the Earth on the Discovery Channel, get real-time news updates from news channels, and etc. OK， 所以我就举了2个例子吧，就是说你首先呢，你是去看你想看的那个电视节目就行，对吧？频道就可以。然后你比如说，如果你想学这个跟地球相关的，你就去看那个探索频道，对吧？然后如果你要想看新闻，你就去看新闻频道就完了。Do you think libraries are still important in the digital age? 你觉得这个图书馆在现在这种数字的时代还重不重要？这个题目的话呢，在无论是从听力、阅读、写作，全都考过类似的啊。那我们来了解一下。It's important, but not as important. Libraries used to be the gateway that provides access to huge resources of information and knowledge. 就是说，它现在没那么重要了，对吧？虽然它还很重要，它之前呢是这个人们接触到大量信息和知识的一个 gateway， 一个门户，大概这个意思。但现在 now people can use Google for searching information. 现在人们都 Google， 对吧？所以 libraries are now a place for local community recreation, which still plays a fundamental role in society. 现在的话，它主要是用来办一些这种社区类的活动，对吧？娱乐活动作为一个娱乐设施，就是场所。然后呢，但是呢，它还是对于一个社区来说，或者对于社会来说，扮演了一个非常重要的角色。OK。所以这样的话回答就基本上完事。我就说它从搜信息这个角度上不那么重要了，但是呢，从这个变成了一个活动的地方。第4题 ，Does the development of the internet have any impact on some disadvantaged people？ 所以这个地方呢，你一定要先明白什么叫做 disadvantaged people， 对吧？就是弱势群体啊，可以这么回答所以的话呢，我们一定要 laser focus 在这个上面，不然的话你就容易跑题啊。So absolutely, disadvantaged people used to be invisible to most people. 我说这个弱势群体之前呢，对于很多人来说它是透明的，就是因为它没有什么发声渠道，人们也就是说不是非常的关注他们。但现在 ，but now people can raise money around the world through the internet to help these disadvantaged groups。现在人们呢，因为不是有水滴筹什么这些那些的，就是他们可以去募集资金，从全世界募集资金，通过网络，对吧？通过网络，然后来帮助这些弱势群体，就完了。所以我们一定要最后扣回到这个网络上面，对吧？然后就是说你相当于举了一个例子就结束了。
And very important, I can't tell you how many times students make this mistake. You need to know what tense you're going to speak on, right?
Okay.
In a specific question, you might change tenses. So if I'm speaking about someone I admire, I can speak about them in present tense in general, and then I can go to past tense. So for example, I can say, someone in my family that I truly admire is my grandfather. Now, the reason I admire him is because he's a very brave and courageous man. For example, when he was 18 years old, the World War II was currently in play, and he had to go out and fight. So now what I've done right there, I say why I admire him today. Then for my example, I go to past tense. So
Right.
it's important to identify what tenses that you're going to need for your answer.
失约 Describe a time when you forgot or missed an appointment. You should say, 对吧？这个 appointment 是干什么的？你跟谁约的？你为什么忘了 ？And explain how you feel， 对吧？就是你最后怎么觉得 ？OK， 所以这个思路的话呢，我会觉得说，如果你想少准备，你就可以顺着上面那个思路，但是这个是稍微要备一点点语料的啊，因为上面我们讲课程那个的话，就是你顺着下来说你约了一个课，对吧？只能说背景信息是一样的，会帮助到你去，就是说你记这个语料应该会难度比较低。 所以如果你自己有比较好的这种想法，你自己真的有这种比较想讲的东西，你也100% 可以讲。但是对于我个人而言，就是没有怎么 miss 过 appointment， 说实在，所以我也太想不起来，所以我就给大家编了这么一个故事 ，OK？ 所以 basically 我们要沿着上面的思路，我就说我用那个 app， 对吧？因为它不是有15分钟的免费嘛试听，然后我就约了一节课，然后但是由于呢我之前没用过这个 app， 然后呢又太忙了，对吧？所以手机呢也没有给它开这个提醒，所以这样的话呢我就给忘了这回事了。然后后来基本上就是我说我的那个 roommate， 对吧？他也用这个 app， 我才突然想起来，我说我是不是约了一节课？一上去之后发现完蛋，确实错过了。然后但是呢他们这个老师并没有扣我的课时，然后反而呢是就是重新跟我约了这个课程时间，那我就觉得这个非常的好，然后感觉到非常不好意思，基本上这就完了。然后我就又跟他约了个时间，然后我设置了好几个提醒来保证我这次不会再 miss 掉，基本就这么个故事。OK， 所以也是比较好记的。那我们来看一下这语料。
For the past few years, I've been teaching. Initially started teaching in Vietnam. I taught in universities. Basically, I was doing law lectures because I studied law in university. I taught legal English in the University of Da Nang in Vietnam. Along with that, I began teaching in IELTS centers, so learning centers, where I would help students prepare for the IELTS tests. Soon after that, I started doing IELTS examinations after I did the IELTS test myself and then got a 9.0 in IELTS. And then I worked as an examiner for, I would say, approximately 2 years before eventually I moved out of Vietnam and to the country known as South Africa. In South Africa, I am a lawyer, but also an English teacher here online. I would say that an introduction of myself can be quite long-winded, but I'll stick to the facts here, and that's what's relevant.
Well, as I was preparing for the IELTS test, which has a speaking test that is very important, I watched a video online a few months ago that recommended me to use an app called Cambly to practice my speaking with a native English speaker. The video had a referral code which allowed me to redeem it on the app for a free 15-minute session. So I booked an appointment with one of the 5-star tutors a few days ago in advance because her schedule was packed. But I completely forgot about it. It was a super busy time for me because I had 4 project deadlines to meet and a lot of things to learn about. So I buried myself in a mountain of workload at the time. Moreover, I had this habit of disabling notifications from apps that I didn't frequently use, which meant I blocked the reminders sent by the app as well. I didn't even notice it for many days until the same video was watched by my dorm mate who practiced one session using that app and recommended it to me. I pulled out my phone and opened the app. I found that the tutor left me a message saying she did not deduct any time from my account and would love to reschedule a time with me. I must say I was so disappointed with myself for forgetting the appointment. I felt bad because the tutor was treating me so nicely. I replied back to her message and apologized for my absence, then rescheduled the session and set 2 reminders on my phone so I won't miss it again. OK， 所以这个整体的话是1分50秒左右啊，所以说时间也是非常吻合的。你会发现前面第一段基本上到这儿吧，应该都是，一般到这儿是完全一样的，对吧？然后后边的话呢，就是稍微把它转换到这个 book appointment 啊，然后忘掉了，就这些那些的，所以理由我也说的很简单，就是因为有这个4个 deadline 要做，然后呢又把自己埋在了如山的这个繁忙的工作中， 以至于，对吧？就是我忘了。还有一个呢，就是像我们刚才中文里边有讲嘛，就说我把这个提醒啊各方面都给它关掉了，所以说确实也没收到提醒，所以大概是这么样。OK。Would it take too long for 7 to 8 sentences? That would be like more than probably like 1 to 2 minutes.
Yeah, so here is the complication with part 3. Now, especially if for some people in IELTS, for some people who do the IELTS, it's young university students or high school students sometimes, mostly business professionals and people older than that, right? But
Right.
not everyone has the opinions or the information to actually give full elaborated answers. However, if you have experience in life and you have opinions and you do the IELTS, you have a whole different problem. You can speak about too much. Now, this is always my advice. This is the main thing we were getting to here for part 3. I always say, because a lot of students wonder, they're like, wow, how can I know I'm always going to be able to get 3 to 8 sentences? Maybe I haven't thought about this question before. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I do know, but I don't know how to approach it. So my strategy for part 3 is answer, reason, example. If you use this, you will always get the length you need for part 3. You just now need to think.
Answer, reason, example, that's only 3 sentences, isn't it?
Not particularly. So I will give you an example. So if your question to me is, who is my favorite actor and why? I'm going to give you an answer. I'm going to speak about a reason. I'm going to speak about example. But in my example, I might have more than one sentence, right?
Right.
So I think that's quite a tricky question. I have many favorite actors who are my favorite. I would say Leonardo DiCaprio is my favorite actor. The reason being is that in every role he plays a completely different character. For example, there's a movie called Catch Me If You Can, where he plays a con artist. Now, a con artist is someone who lies and acts like different people to get money. So in a single role, he acts as a surgeon, a doctor, a lawyer, a banker, a pilot. And I felt that this really showed his acting range very well. Mm-hmm. So all I did there, I gave an introduction phrase, like you see there.
Right.
That's a tricky question. I have many, but now I go to answer. Leonardo DiCaprio is my favorite actor. Why? I spoke about his acting range. Example, I spoke about one movie where he plays many characters. Now there I had about 7, 8, perhaps even 9 sentences. But if your answer is interesting enough, you're giving very relevant examples, the examiner will give you some leeway for a longer answer, depending on the question.
Actually? Oh, okay.
It really does. It does depend on your examiner in the day. I've had most examiners, they follow the rules and they say, if it's a good quality answer, if the person is not dragging on too many examples, etc., you let him finish that answer. You give him the scores for that.
那如果你也想跟这个雅思的前考官们进行这种 one-on-one 的这种 meeting 的话呢，你可以使用我们屏幕下方的这个 code 来领取15分钟的与英语母语者沟通的免费的体验课程。就在 Cambly 的这个软件，根据我们现在屏幕上这样点进去，然后输入我们下面的这个推荐码，你就可以领取15分钟。如果你感兴趣，他们在这个双11的时候会有很多的优惠，那你可以进入他们的公众号去关注一下，他们可能在近期会发布一些这种活动的信息。
来看一下 Part 3。How do people who are busy remember things they need to do? 这个忙的人都怎么去记住他需要做的事情？这个跟之前我们讲的什么 time management 这些那些的都太像了，对吧？直接讲到这个 make to-do list， 搞定了吧？ Set reminders for important events and add and record their meetings, appointments, and other things on their calendar。 就是你要设置一个 to-do list。然后设置提醒，然后同时呢把这些东西放到你的日历上边。The busy people must rely on these tools to keep their mind organized to better manage their time。 他们必须要使用这个工具来帮助他们，对吧？来这个整理他们自己的头脑，然后让他们更好的管理自己的时间。不然的话，就是你不应该 focus 永远在记住你要干什么上面，对吧？所以你要利用好这些工具。第二个问题 ，Do you think people should remember family history？ 你觉得人们需不需要记住家庭的历史？我觉得这个题目挺二的啊。家庭的历史你怎么去定义它？你就说，你就记住你们家这个之前祖先都是谁，就是记住家谱，还是说什么东西，对吧？就是很 vague 的一个东西啊。所以我在这儿呢，首先先把它定义到，我说 I think family milestones 就是一些里程碑的东西 are worth remembering， 值得被记一下。It's important to remember the past as to not repeat it or to be mindful of how a family came to be。 是这个很重要的来记一下，就这其实从那个所谓的历史那边摘抄过来的。就是说你 O building Part 1 O building 里边的啊，我记住历史嘛，就相当于记住过去很重要，是因为我们不会想去重复那些，应该叫重复那些不好的东西。然后呢 ，be mindful of 这个家族是怎么过来的啊 ？OK， 所以大概这么一打就基本上搞定了。第三个问题倍儿长啊 ，If someone doesn't really like whom they are going to meet, they may deliberately miss their appointments. Is that true and why? 这个很 mean， 对不对？就是说，如果你不想见这个人，然后我就故意放人家鸽子，就是不是真的？我觉得呢，不是，对吧 ？I don't think so. That's simply too rude to do. 就是太 rude， 对吧？不太好啊。I mean, if they don't like the person, they can make more than 100 good excuses to cancel the meeting without keeping them waiting and hanging them out to dry. 首先，我先说的是，人应该都是比较 nice 的，对吧？就是你不要太 rude。然后，既然你不想变成一个 rude person， 那这个时候呢，我就说你有100个好的理由去取消这个 meeting， 对吧？你就别见人家就行了，你不要，对吧？你不要把人家这个 keep them waiting 让他们等，而且呢，就是把它晾在那儿 ，hanging them out to dry， 这就晾在那儿。OK， 所以这么回答啊。第4个题目 ，Which is more important, a work-related appointment or an appointment with a friend, and why？ 就是这一题就好像有一点那种掉水里先救谁的感觉啊，就是他们都很重要，对吧？哎，你为什么非得去进行对比呢？工作和生活都重要，对吧？ Both are important. People should simply keep their promise and show up at the appointment. 因为人们就单纯的应该，就是你既然跟人约了时间，你就应该 show up， 对吧？来这个 keep your promise. If they have scheduling conflicts, one should talk to them honestly and reschedule the meeting. 如果有这个就是说 conflicts， 就是这俩撞到一起了，那就应该去跟人家重新的 reschedule， 就完了，就这么简单的事情。你不要说两者选一个，然后一个不去，一个去，对吧？这样的话不好啊。